Benjamin Disraeli, former Prime Minister of the UN, stated, "The one thing that is constant is change." I'm confident to say that both you and I can attest that we've had our share of change in life and in business. Change comes in myriad of forms. It can come in economic shifts, innovations, new technologies, heightened customer awareness, changes in partnerships and stakeholders, financial insecurities. All of these are changes that, as we go through a journey in business and entrepreneurship, we are more apt to face than not. But what I want to challenge you is ask yourself the question, when change happens, whether seen or if you're caught off guard, how do you respond to the change? Do you find yourself suffering with an amygdala hijack, where that primitive brain takes over and suddenly you're in fight or flight mode, where fear sets in and you're looking to your left and your right, wondering, what is everyone else doing? What should I do? That perhaps maybe you're not even seeking the right counsel, or you find yourself in the wrong circles because you're trying to figure out, how do I survive as this new wave is coming? As this tsunami episode is hitting me, what do I do? I want to propose the 3 lanes you don't want to find yourself in. Is you don't want to find yourself as the ostrich. I like to call it the ostrich syndrome, where you put your head in the sand. It's like, I don't want to see it. If I don't see it, then it doesn't exist. And you don't want to place yourself in the petrified state where you're frozen. You can't move, you can't think, you're just there, hoping it will pass by. And lastly, you don't want to be the frenetic Chicken Little running around saying the sky is falling and you're just running in circles, but nothing is happening because you are in sheer panic. What you want to do is pause and assess. My name is LaWanna Bradford, and I'm the Chief Operating of the Bradford Group, as well as the Principal of the Bradford Group Consulting. And I want to tell you a little bit of my story before we get into the meat of what I want to share with you today regarding repositioning to remain relevant in today's marketplace. See, I know what it's like to be hit with a tsunami episode, to be hit with something that is so unexpected that you find yourself literally sometimes in all 3 areas. You're petrified. Oh my gosh. Then you put your head in the sand. I don't want to see it and deal with it. And then suddenly you're running around. Oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? That, ladies and gentlemen, was when 2007, 2008 happened, the mortgage crisis. See, my company is a commercial and investment mortgage company. But at the time, we were in the residential lane. At a time when, before the crises, we were doing great. Life was good. I couldn't have asked for anything more. We had a wonderful team of 19 employees. We were the educators in our community. Our role was to make a difference. In fact, that's our tagline. It was to make a difference, to be a catalyst within our communities, to provide education so that our Black and brown communities could be more positioned, better positioned to achieve wealth, generational wealth, legacy. And how we did that was helping them to understand the whole mortgage industry, and then how to translate that to purchase the properties that they needed, whether it was investment properties, or their homes. When the crisis hit, many of my counterparts went the way of the dodo bird. Their doors just closed, just like many banks. And we had to figure out, what do we do to survive? That was the central and pivotal question. What do we do to survive this chaos that is running around? How do we can't stay in front of the wave because the wave is already here. But how do we ride this wave? Because we didn't want to be overtaken by the wave and wiped out completely. During that same time, my brother, who at the time was the CEO of the company, decided he had to leave. He left the ship. He said, you know what? I have to focus on my family and their security, and there's too much uncertainty for me to stay here. And he left. He left me alone with our employees. The big challenge in that was he was the one that held all the licensing. I didn't. He gave me a 2-week notice. So you talk about more change and the anxiety, right? The anxiety, the fear, the panic, all of this is happening. I'm bouncing from ostrich to petrified to Chicken Little, bouncing back and forth, back and forth. And I had to calm myself. And it was because of, again, thinking about getting wise counsel. My business partner said, LaWanna, I need you to pause. I need you to realize these things have happened. You can't change them. The economy, the market is failing. That you can't change, you can't control. Your brother has made a decision and has made his exit. That you cannot control. And oh, there was one third thing. I ended up getting a divorce during this time. So think about the emotional burden of wondering, how am I going to keep this business together? How am I going to keep a roof over my head? How am I going to take care of my employees? There was just a lot of unanswered questions. And my partner had to say, I need you to pause for a second. I need you to pause and realize there are things you cannot control. Let's put that aside. Ask yourself, what can you control? What can you influence? What can you shift? What can you navigate in this changing world? And I paused and I assessed and I looked at the landscape. And that's one of the things that we have to do in business, is always assessing the environment that we're in. And I realized that where we were going is what I wanted to do. I was clear on that. But I knew that we had to do it in a different way in order to survive. I knew that staying on the residential side was probably not the wisest thing to do, because lenders weren't lending anymore. And those who were lending, the guidelines were crazy. It was almost impossible to get a loan approved. But I knew that the mortgage lane I was clear on that was what we were to be doing. But there's other lanes in mortgages. And I said, well, maybe we need to shift to the commercial side of the house. Because at the time we were 80-20 split, 80% residential, 20% commercial. So I did a flip-flop because I realized that the commercial side was not as adversely impacted as the residential side. I'm going to end the story right there. And why I'm going to end it is because that was 2007, 2008. We are now in 2023, and the Bradford Group is celebrating 17 years in the mortgage industry. That's a huge accomplishment, to be able to say we came out of that dark space and we survived, and we're now thriving. We were able to rebuild, reimagine our path, where we are still positioning and empowering communities of all shades and complexions to grow and thrive by understanding how to invest in the economy through real estate. So, how did we do that is the question. Repositioning to remain relevant. The R3 is what I realized was so critical for us. And it's something that we apply all the time in our business. It's a continuous application. Repositioning to remain relevant is a strategic lens, if you will, and how you are looking at your business and positioning your business for success. I've been in business for over 30 years. And the one thing I can confidently say is success leaves clues. I encourage you all to find individuals who've been where you are, want to go, who have been there, got the t-shirt, to partner with, to have them consult with you, work with you, guide you, mentor you, because that's what I had. I remember years ago, an individual multimillionaire by the name of Jim McCracken. I went up to him and I said, Mr. McCracken, if you could tell me one thing, if you could give me one piece of advice in business that I could take from now until, what would that be? What would be that pivotal message that I need to hear and I need to take to heart? And he said, don't ever pray for money, because there is never a lack of money. There is never a lack of resource. The world is abundant. There is enough to go around. What you want to pray for is knowledge and wisdom, and how to apply that knowledge and wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, when I heard that, that instantly changed how I looked at my business. And that message, that seed, was germinating in me year after year after year until a time such as the mortgage crisis, where I was able to dig deep and hear that voice and hear other messages that have been peppered in me along the way, that I realized it's about repositioning. It's about relevancy. So the first thing to repositioning to remain relevant is clarity of thought. You have to be crystal clear on where you're going. What is that ultimate vision that you want to achieve? That vision has to be so crystallized in you, so wedded and committed in your heart of hearts, that the negative, the ash and trash, the life's hiccups to your left and your right won't cause you to get off course, because you're laser focused. I became crystal clear. I knew what the Bradford Group's mission was. I knew where we were going. I knew the vision of what we wanted to do for communities. And I wasn't going to let the mortgage crises get in the way. I just needed to figure out how I was going to get to the destination, what was going to be the new path to get there. The second thing with repositioning to remain relevant, after you have that clarity of focus, and again, you have to be committed. People say, I set your intention, but you have to be committed, wedded, tapped in, sold out, tuned into where you say that you're going, that you're not easily swayed and distracted. You're not busy looking to jump on the pivoting bandwagon. And that's number two. Repositioning is not pivoting. See, when you pivot, you change directions. As I mentioned, when you know where you're going, when you have clarity of thought, you know your North Star. You know the direction that you're going. It's just a matter of changing modes of transport to get you there. Maybe it's a new team that you need to bring on. Maybe it's a new market that you need to focus on. But the direction hasn't changed. So that's number two. So clarity of thought, critical. This is all mindset and strategic thinking and application. And number two, it is knowing that when you are repositioning, you are not pivoting. It's just adjusting the modality that you are going to take to get to the ultimate destination. So sit in that for a moment when we're thinking about repositioning, clarity of thought, And the last piece is relevancy. How do you remain relevant when the world is ever changing? How do you remain relevant in your industry? Well, as I mentioned earlier, success leaves clues. Are you a reader of your industry? Are you a student of your industry? Are you looking at the leaders in your industry? Are you understanding the trends and how those trends impact your industry? See, when you become a student of what you are doing in the place that you are occupying, then you can position yourself to become a relevant resource, a relevant solution. Because when we are in business, we are providing solutions. But won't know what solutions to provide if I'm not listening to the client, if I'm not putting an ear to what my competitors may be doing or what the industry leaders are doing. If I'm not listening to what's being forecasted and then paring it back down and saying, okay, well, how will this apply to me? How will this impact me and what I do and how I navigate? Today, there are two critical things that are relevant across the board globally. Two things. The first is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody is positioning themselves to figure out how do they represent this in who they say they are, who they work with, who they serve, who they hire. How do they create this environment that celebrates and embraces diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging? That's number one. So ask yourself in your business, is that something you're talking about? Because when you're looking for funding, especially grant funding, more often than not, that is now one of the questions. So are you positioned for where the world is going? Because a shift is already happening. Secondly, is our clients want to know that we care. Our stakeholders, our partners want to know that we care. So it's past the bottom line. How are you giving back? How are you serving in a bigger and better way? How are you creating legacy, impact, influence to improve the better humanity? Is that part of your business story? If not, it should be. The one company I absolutely love is the Bomba Sock Company, because they talk about when you purchase a sock or one of their apparel, they give one back. There are other companies that give a percentage back to breast cancer research and other major causes. These are two examples of how you can be relevant in a greater societal conversation that makes you more endearing to your respective clients and stakeholders, where people want to lean in and hear more and be a part of what you offer. So when we think about repositioning to remain relevant, I want you to think about and remember those three things. Do you have clarity of focus? Are you repositioning, or are you merely pivoting? Because repositioning is very strategic. There is a time and place to pivot, but this conversation is about repositioning. And then thirdly, what makes you relevant? Because when you are relevant, your messaging changes, right? Your message is relevant to what is happening in and around you, to how your clients are responding to the world around them. You're going away from the old model of let's build a plane and they will come, and you're building a model of community, of collaboration, of co-opetition with your clients, with your stakeholders, with others that you may serve. It has been an honor and a privilege to be here with you for the Comeback Champion Summit. Thank you so much, Shay Brown, for inviting me to be a part of this amazing platform. I am LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group, and we have a special gift for you. You can go to the website at lawannabradford.reminderlp/credit guide. That's lawannabradford.reminderlp/credit guide. And this will give you a guide to help you assess where your credit is and how you can leverage your credit to create greater relevancy and impact, whether you are increasing your financial personal portfolio or building your business portfolio and expanding the footprint. I want to thank you so much for taking this time to spend with me on the Comeback Champion Summit. I am LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group, and I want to leave you with one lasting thought. Please remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Thank you so much. Be blessed, and I wish you nothing but success.